At the end of an abandoned mountain road in Japan, Daniel Mercer found a rusted sign tied between two cedar trees. Most of the paint had peeled away, but one sentence remained readable. Beyond this point, the laws of Japan do not apply. Daniel photographed the sign and laughed. He had traveled for 2 days to find Kurobane, a village missing from every modern map. Online stories claimed the settlement had rejected the government, removed its road signs, and declared itself beyond Japanese law. Daniel produced short documentaries about urban legends. Kurobane was supposed to become his next episode. He stepped past the sign shortly before sunset. That was the moment his phone recorded someone whispering his name. Daniel heard nothing at the time. The road narrowed as it entered the forest. Moss covered the barriers, and stone statues stood beside the asphalt. Every statue faced away from the village. Faded red thread had been tied around their necks. His phone had no signal, but the camera still worked. He filmed the road, the statues, and the warning sign behind him. When he reviewed the footage, one frame showed a man standing near the sign. The man wore Daniel's jacket and carried the same gray backpack. Daniel replayed the clip. The figure had not been there when he recorded it. He considered turning back, but the light was fading. According to the map he had downloaded, the village was less than a kilometer ahead. 10 minutes later, the road divided. Both paths looked identical. Both had the same broken bicycle leaning against the same cedar tree. Daniel chose the left path. 20 minutes later, he passed the bicycle again. This time his name had been scratched into its basket. Kurobane appeared just before nightfall. Around 30 wooden houses stood beside a narrow river. Most had collapsed roofs and black windows. An old loudspeaker hung from a pole in the village square. No lights were visible, yet shoes rested outside several doors. Fresh vegetables had been placed beside a dry well. A child's red ball rolled slowly across the road, although there was no wind. Daniel called out. An elderly woman appeared beneath the entrance of a roadside shrine. She wore a dark coat and carried an unlit lantern. "You should not have crossed the sign," she said. Daniel asked whether she lived in the village. The woman ignored the question. "Did you look behind you after entering the road?" Daniel said he had checked his camera. "That is not what I asked." He had not physically looked back. The woman seemed relieved. "Then it has only seen your face through the machine." Daniel asked what she meant. "Things here learn by being observed," she said. "A photograph gives them your shape, a recording gives them your voice, a memory gives them somewhere to live." She handed him the lantern. "If you hear yourself calling from behind, do not answer, and whatever happens, do not look back." The loudspeaker in the square crackled to life. Daniel's own voice came through it. "Thank you," it said. When Daniel turned toward the shrine again, the woman was gone. Rain began without warning. Daniel entered the nearest intact house and locked the door. A bowl of rice sat on a table. A kettle remained warm. Wet footprints crossed the floor and ended in front of a mirror covered with black cloth. On a shelf, he found notebooks left by earlier visitors. One traveler wrote that footsteps followed him through the village, but always landed half a second before his own. Another claimed the loudspeaker repeated private conversations from childhood. The final notebook contained one sentence: "It does not chase you, it practices being you." 2 footsteps sounded on the porch. The second arrived first. A knock came from the door. Then Daniel's voice spoke from outside. "I found someone living here." Daniel did not answer. His phone began ringing. The screen displayed his own name and number. He declined the call. A message appeared: "Don't trust the woman." A second message followed: "She let me in first."
Every electronic device in the room switched on. The camera displayed a live view of the porch. A man stood
Out glass and mouthed a warning: "Look for the road with no statues." Daniel reached the village square. 4 roads led away from it. 3 were lined with stone statues. The 4th climbed toward the forest. He ran. Behind him, the loudspeaker called his name. Then he heard his mother's voice. She had been dead for 6 years. "Daniel," the voice said. "Please look at me." It repeated a private sentence she had spoken in hospital, something Daniel had never told anyone. He almost stopped. Then he remembered the woman's warning. A memory gives them somewhere to live. Daniel covered his ears and continued. The road ended at the rusted sign. His parked car was visible beyond it. Someone was already standing on the other side. It was Daniel. The second man looked exhausted. Mud covered his clothes. Blood ran from a cut above his eye. "Do not cross," he said. "You are the thing that followed me." He held up a phone showing footage of Daniel entering Kurobane. The timestamp showed the previous day. In the video, Daniel crossed the sign and looked back. The man outside began to cry. "I hid in the forest all night. Then I saw you walking through the village with my face." Footsteps filled the road behind Daniel, dozens of them. The other Daniel extended his hand. "Cross now." Daniel remembered something from the notebooks. The copy could reproduce pain and memory, but it could not understand why people chose to help one another. Daniel held the lantern over the boundary. "Take it," he said. The man reached for it immediately, too quickly. He did not try to pull Daniel across. He only wanted the lantern. Daniel drew it back. The other man's face became empty. Then every voice in the village spoke through him. "Do not make us practice again." Daniel threw the lantern into the road. It shattered and fire spread across the dry leaves. The other Daniel stepped back. Daniel crossed the sign and ran to his car. Behind him, someone screamed his name. He did not look back. Most of Daniel's photographs were corrupted. Only one remained clear. It showed him standing beside the warning sign. Behind him was another Daniel, staring directly at the camera. For several weeks, nothing happened. Then Daniel's dog stopped entering the same room as him. His phone unlocked for someone standing behind him. Recordings contained answers spoken before he asked the questions. Finally, Daniel covered the mirror in his bedroom. That night, the cloth fell to the floor. His reflection stood perfectly still. Daniel raised his right hand. The reflection did not move. Instead, it looked over its shoulder at something behind the glass and whispered, "You were not the first one to cross." The next morning, Daniel uploaded one final video. It showed the road into Kurobane. At the beginning, Daniel stood beside the warning sign. "My name is Daniel Mercer," he said. "If I return, ask me why I gave him the lantern." Then he crossed the boundary, and he looked back. The timestamp showed the video had been recorded 3 days before Daniel first heard about Kurobane. That is why people near the mountain repeat the same warning. If you find the sign, do not photograph it. If you hear your own voice, do not answer. And once you cross into Kurobane, never look back. Because the frightening part is
not that Japan's laws supposedly end at the village boundary. It is that beyond the sign, even the laws that make you who you are no longer apply.